gentle listeners, you were listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the town.
Well, you're
We are
watching
your,
us too, because this is YouTube.
yes, watching. We are your effervescent hosts, your neighborhood friendly Kiwi Tush from Middle Earth, New Zealand.
And Lady Patty, who wishes we could have started this way earlier today, but I have a job. Why did I have to work today? That's what I want to
And
know.
and why did Tash have to sleep today? So we are jumping on
Barely.
today to give exclusive content, our exclusive breakdown of the Valentine's Bridgerton
Season of Love
live
event.
event. Yeah, it was a live event that they did last night, interviewing. It was Brimsley and the Queen and Jess Brownell sort of all co-interviewing Yerin Ha and Luke Thompson, who are our Sophie Bagg and our Benedict Bridgerton, our love interest for season 4. And so basically today we are going to give you a complete rundown of everything that we learned from that for season 4 because we got
And
so much exclusive content.
we're going to talk about the sneak peek that was shown at the end and
Mm-hmm.
what our little eyes spied.
My name, delays. And they are very
Yeah.
little today
We
because
we we both have eye problems, so don't quote
the
us on what we see. I'm kidding.
this event started at 4 a.m. for me and it finished just after 5 a.m. And then I jumped on and I was on the Bridgerton pages and I was posting all the photos as they were coming out live. I screenshot every photo that I could possibly get during the event and posted all live, posted it to our Bridgerton page, the main Bridgerton page. I was doing the hustling. Was
She was
hustling
doing the
hard.
hustling because at my job right now, we're working overtime. So I was working and listening to the event, seeing what I could see, and very much thank you, much appreciated, Tosh, for getting me screenshots and photos and things so that I could ponder all day while I was working. I could randomly ponder things.
And while Patty worked, I slept because I got to sleep from 6:45 this morning until 9:30. It's not even 3 hours.
Poor thing.
And as people can hear, I am still sick. So having 2 hours and 45 of sleep while still being this sick is a bit regretful, but we're gonna push through.
Bummer.
Okay, so I have kind of just written little notes, and there are literally dozens of them. So I'm going to jump in basically from the start, because otherwise, if we just go wild, I will
Yeah.
lose track of what we've covered. Um, so the first official announcement, the exclusive announcement for season 4 was something that we already knew, but we are getting Simone Ashley back. But we do get baby Canthony as well this season, which I am super excited about because we knew we were getting baby Pollen, but I did not know that we were getting baby Canthony. And it's just going to be little babies running all over the place and it's going to be adorable.
Violet is going to be
In her grandmama era.
grandmama era. Yes, and the first true announcement that I thought was shocking because everywhere, so many places are saying that they were done filming is when Hugh
Yes.
said they were still filming. So it is
Yes.
now February and they are still filming, even though we heard that they had stopped
He
filming.
said that they are 2/3 way done.
Yeah. And that makes sense because they didn't start till September.
And he said 9 months. He said it is 9 months of filming. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, April.
Into June. Yeah. Because season 3 started in July of 2022 and it ended in late February 2023, but then they had to go back for reshoots. So there was a little extra there. So they are still filming things, but we do know that the Masquerade Ball is back and it is a majority of the first episode.
Yes, so it takes up the majority of the first episode, which is going to be quite interesting. And I did think it was because originally they said that this was being filmed during autumn. So I think this part, because
Is the end
From
of the season.
The exclusive photos that we have gotten, with the backdrop being very evergreen, but with the dogwood pink trees in massive bloom, tell me that it is spring. From memory, I believe that dogwood actually bloom earlier than a cherry blossom.
They do.
So I think
hardier trees.
Yeah, so I think that this is taking place earlier, and then we're going to get that time jump into autumn, because a lot of the photos that we got from today's events are very, very spring coloring.
Right. I think that the masquerade itself is during Bridgerton's season, because we know that Bridgerton does their season in the summer, not like original Regency England.
And the other thing that tells me that because they said that we're not going to be in the season this year. They said that this season was not going to be in the marriage mark season.
Episode 1 just to do the masquerade.
No, because Jess Brownell exclusively said that Violet is back on Eloise's case this year, and she is putting Eloise back on the marriage mart, and she is now putting all of her focus and energy into getting Eloise married off. So that tells me that it probably is in the season.
Hyacinth is going to be 14.
Yes. Well, actually, I think Jess Brownell stuffed up with that, because she said Hyacinth is desperate to be on the marriage mart, but she's only something like 14. And then she said, or something like that, as in she wasn't supposed to give out a specific age for where she is.
Yeah, but we already knew we were getting a time jump, and that would be a 2-year time jump, because she was 11, 12, although I
think they try to keep it vague for a reason, and I think Jess Brownell realized that she gave away a piece of information that she probably wasn't supposed to.
Right.
Because when you can tell someone has said something that they're not supposed to say.
The fact that they're pressing that Violet is going to be leaning into Eloise again tells me that Eloise is definitely deaf season 5.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, we already knew that from the Paul Mall, but I think it definitely and Yerin Ha, just to jump again, said that one of the things that she's looking forward to most, but she couldn't explain why, but one of the storylines she was looking forward to seeing the most was Francesca's, but she couldn't explain why. And I thought, I see. So we are going to get a bit of Francesca this season coming again.
Well, they have her. She's at the masquerade.
But we thought
she might not be.
I didn't spy Michaela there.
I didn't either. But we saw John with the mask doing the season 4. So we know that they both came together for the masquerade. Yes. For sure.
Yes. So with speaking of the Bridgerton siblings, we also learned that Gregory is going to be attending Eden this year. And they basically said that they're sending him off to become a man. And I think that's very much because right now, Will
Tilston.
Thank you. He's a boy. He's very much a boy. And I think they probably will have to change the actors depending on how long they take to get to his season. He might be the right age, but I think for viewers, we aren't going to be able to view him that way because we've seen him grow up on screen, if that makes sense. So I think they kind of have to change the actor. But anyway, they've said that they're sending him away basically because he's going to Eden. He's of age now, sending him away to become a man. And then jumping back once again, the second big drop of information that we got for season 4 was about the Mondrick family, which is going to be a very interesting development. So they said that the Mondrick family are going to face a new challenge this year, something in which Lady Danbury is going to help them with, but then they quickly pivot to the conversation about the Queen and how Lady Danbury is expanding her relationship with the Queen this year and kind of the dynamic of it is changing. So Patty and I were musing about how that's going to play out. Patty, do you want to take it away?
Well, they said that we saw a lot of the beginnings of their friendship in Queen Charlotte. We're going to be seeing a little bit of their dynamic from that period of time until now. And I think I'm still thinking that the queen helped her place Alice, that Alice is her child, and the queen helped her place Alice. Because if we think about season 3, when she said she was having an unwanted visitor, the queen said, "Do you need your queen to banish them to the farthest reaches of the kingdom?" And she's like, "No, it's not worth your worry," or whatever. I think she's asked the queen to do something similar before. And I think that's something we find out.
I kind of think of it more as two different ways that I could interpret this, and they could actually go in both ways of it. I think that Lady Danbury is going to confide in the queen, because we've always seen the queen's relationships be one way, and I think that the queen feels a lot of loneliness in that she can ask others to do things for her, but no one will ever ask any favors of her. Not Brimsley saying, "Hey, can you help me maintain a relationship with the love of my life?" Even the king struggles to lean on her and confide in her about his mental illness. The Dowager Queen didn't even really ask for her help. It was all your responsibility to the state, no one has ever
But I think what's awesome is that she is going to also develop a friendship with Penelope. Like, they made it really seem like it was not a working relationship.
Well, I want to dig still a little bit more into before we look at that photo.
But I think that also plays into how Danbury and the queen would interact, because now the queen, Penn, is just super authentic.
Yes.
Right? So I think Penn would be very not as guarded as Lady Danbury would be with the queen. And that may affect, like, seeing how the queen reacts to that may give Lady Danbury kind of the courage or confidence to be a little more vulnerable herself with the queen, where she hadn't been before, if she sees that the queen is receiving it in a positive way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Patty and I have a theory as to what may trigger all of these new relationship dynamics. And that is from one of the promo photos. And it's of a throne chair sitting lonesome. And if you look at the further videos, we do know that chair is probably placed on a podium at Bridgerton House for the queen to sit on during the masquerade ball. But the way that they film it during this promo seems empty and lonely and very regal and royal. And Patty and I have that theory.
It's right after the queen says, well, here's the start of a new season, and then bam, an empty chair. So we know that in this time period, in this time period in real history, Queen Charlotte actually passes away, but yes, Bridgerton decided to keep her alive. And I think they're going to change history, but a royal is still going to pass away.
Yes, we suspect that was their way of saying that just George, will go back to being just George, and the queen will be just the queen. And I wonder, because Jess Brownell said, finally, Golda gets to film somewhere else other than the palace. She said Golda has her 1, 2, or 3 locations that's pretty much exclusively where she films at. And I'm thinking, if she is no longer the queen because if George dies, then one of her children has to take take over the procession, which would mean that she would have the freedom to be able to leave the palace a little more often and get to live her life. And I wonder whether that is what kind of helps prompt that new dynamic between Lady Danbury and the queen, is even though even though the queen, like, even though Charlotte loved George, like thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly loved George, she was still the queen. And
Mm-hmm.
she didn't get to be Charlotte anymore. Like, even when we talk about her, she is the queen. We don't say Charlotte. We never ever refer
Right.
to her as Charlotte. And I wonder whether this season, and her saying it is a new season, I wonder whether this is Charlotte's season. And it's not about love, it's about Charlotte finding love with Lady Danbury, with maybe even
Brimsley.
Alice, maybe with Brimsley, maybe with Penelope, developing the love of friendship for the first time in her life, where it is now mutual because she is not just their queen, she is just
Yes.
Charlotte. And so that was kind
Yes.
of the way that I thought that it might play out. And I really hope so for her, because
I hope it does, because I'm saying
she's
this
so
again.
lonely.
I'm putting this in the universe. You are still filming. I want the Holy Trinity. I want the
Yes.
Queen and Lady Danbury and Penelope in a room. I want them sipping tea and talking about the ton. I must have it. These are our three ultimate influencers. Like, if you think of
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing in a modern way, they are the influencers of Mayfair, of the ton. And I have to have them in a room together. First of all, Golda's hair was fabulous at this event.
Yes. I love Golda. I think she's an absolute queen. Like, she, even without being the queen, she is our queen,
Mm-hmm.
because
And
she is
then
just perfection.
Jess Brownell stood out in the bright red with 5 different brooches and pins on her
Well, I thought
lapel.
this is okay. Now that I'm thinking about it, it
I
makes
mean, it's
sense. And
Valentine.
that's what I was about to say. It makes sense that it was Valentine's, but then it kind of confuses me why everyone else was dressed all in dark, and just her being the standout when this
Well,
is their
there
season.
was
They should
there was
have.
a black theme today, because I saw a post where Nicola Coughlan was at an award show. I'm not sure where Luke Newton was, but he was out and about, public appearance, and they're all styled in complete black today. Yerin Ha, Luke
Hmm.
Thompson, Luke Newton, and Nicola Coughlan, all in complete black. And Brimsley was in a black suit, and then Golda was very muted coloring, very demure outfit, and then Jess Brownell was in that bright red suit, like a power
Yes,
suit.
it
She
was.
did she
She
did
looked
come off a
phenomenal.
lot more. Yes, she did look a lot more confident, and I noticed her look is a lot softer. Like, for all the
Yes,
promo of season 3, she was
yes,
very businesslike with the hairstyles
yeah.
and the makeup, and I felt she was softer. But all of her power was in her suit. Like, she stood out. She made it to where, I don't know if she made it, but Shonda or whomever, which that's another note I have, is that noticeably absent from this promo was Shonda Rhimes and Julia Quinn, who were at this very same similar promo for season 3 and
Yeah.
the Zoom one for season 2. I believe they were a part of that as well, and they're both absent this time.
There seemed to be a little bit of issue with the sound as well. Like, I
Yeah.
noticed Luke Thompson's mic, I don't think was even working. And
No,
if it
his
was,
mic was
it
very
wasn't
muted, and so was Yerin Ha's.
Brimsley's and Brimsley's. He's really
Brimsley cut out a
struggled.
couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought I thought, oh, okay, that's quite interesting. That, and I mean, granted, we were watching live, and because of that,
And
you
I'm
got
not
those
sure
kind
if
of.
they thought about the timing of his intro after the Candlelight Bridgerton. That
Yes.
was super funny, super cute and funny. Like, he finishes what he's saying, and then he's looking over like, you guys aren't done switching things around.
Yeah. Poor fella. Like, he looked so awkward, but also not. Like, he was confident, but like, come on,
Yeah.
guys.
He
We're
kind of looked like,
waiting.
like, if the queen's doing something, that's it's expected to be a certain way, and he just has to sit there and wait until it's all figured out because he's Brimsley.
Hmm.
That's the kind of vibe it gave me. Like, I just have to sit here and indulge her because she's the
Yeah.
queen, kind of thing. But then I
Um,
wrote in big letters, Canthony. Um, and then I loved when they talked about Lady Featherington, which was
Portia.
after they talked about Lady D and the Queen. They said
Yes.
Lady Featherington is kind of in the upside down, where her youngest, the one she didn't even think was going to make a match, made the
Dismissed.
best match.
Mhm.
And she is not moving out of that house.
Oh no. She would like dig her claws into Featherington House
and
and
I
have to be dragged out.
Yeah. And I'm glad I got to say that, because later when we do talk about the sneak peek, I have theories and thoughts.
Well, isn't it funny that Penelope wanted to kind of get married to escape her mother, and it ends out that in finding comfort and love in the relationship that she has with Colin, that she also heals that relationship with her mother and no longer feels the need to escape her mother. Like, I mean, I'm sure that her mum is still going to drive her batty, but I don't think the thought of having to live with her mum for the rest of her life now seems like the death sentence that it did in season 1 and 2. I think she is now okay with it. Like, they're starting to heal something in them. So instead of running away from something, it's, you know, it's the two of them taking on life together. So now that we've talked about Portia, let's talk about Violet and Lord Anderson, because that was the next thing that gets discussed. Is I did have some theories that Violet may have already been married to Lord Anderson in the off period or something, but Jess Brownell has said that Violet and Lord Anderson's relationship will continue to develop this season, and she's quite enjoying seeing Violet being like kind of a giddy little schoolgirl. And from some of the promo photos that we do see, she is very much a debutante again. Yes. You know, the way that she is dressed in some of those behind the scenes images from the masquerade ball, she is breathtaking. And it takes, like, she no longer looks like just a mama with her daughters on the market. You know, she is a diamond in her own right, if that makes sense.
In that one photo from the sneak peek, she looks like herself from Queen Charlotte, her younger version. Just youthful and hopeful and awesome.
One of the other things that they've pointed out was that Golda's wigs are going to be phenomenal. I don't know if you saw this because it wasn't actually in any of the promos for this, but someone made a wig, and I'm sure it was made for Bridgerton, Netflix, whoever, for a promo video, because the video is of this wig being made, and it is another moving wig, and it's set up for a tea party, and I thought it was going to be on display for this event. It's one of it's one of Queen Charlotte's, at least I presume it's a Queen Charlotte wig, because it's got moving parts. It's like a tea party going on. The zebras on it, because she talks about the zebras. So I thought, I really, really hope that we get to see her in that wig next season, because it is phenomenal. But Jess Brownell said that they put a lot
very expensive
of time and effort and a lot of money into these wigs for the season, and I'm living for it, because one of my favorite post Bridgerton watch things to do is to hit the internet and see people's recreations of the wigs using household objects. It is ridiculous. It is hilarious. I live for it.
I just saw one. Somebody was saying that they couldn't wait for season 4 to see, you know, what Cressida's wearing, and they had their arms through 2 lampshades. Lampshades for the arms, trying to drink with a lampshade. I've killed Tosh. TikTokers killed Tosh.
She be practicing those Kegel exercises right now with this cold. Whew. Okay. Now that I have a dizzy-induced headache, let's talk about other dizzy-inducing things. The trope for this season has been labeled forbidden love, and it's because obviously Jess Brownell has made a really, really big point about the class difference. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to this season is they've said we have seen all the rules of the ton be established. And I'm like, what do you mean the rules of the ton be established? Because you basically took all the rules of the ton and you just put them in the bin. And then you pissed on the bin. And then you lit it on fire.
Lighting.
But apparently they've set up the rules of the ton so that we understand the chess game. So I'm going to be following a Cinderella kind of trope as well. But that Sophie Bayek is going to be a chess player of sorts, which I'm like, that's a very specifically chosen word there, Jess Brownell. I'm very interested to see how this plays out, but I think that Sophie is going to be very not conniving, I think, and not manipulative, but like
Oh,
very strategic in the moves that she makes.
yeah.
I think even though Yerin Ha can come off as very
Well,
softly spoken, I think she's got a little bit of feist and a little bit of backbone to her
I
because
think
that's
she has
kind
a
of
lot. That MRI
yes,
comment was hilarious.
yes, she comes off as softly spoken, but then when she actually starts speaking, you're like, get it, girl, love it.
Because I fully agree with her. An MRI is icky and claustrophobic, but you have to
But you
do
need
it.
to do it. You need to
Yeah.
do it. Yes.
So I
So
really found I think I will enjoy her in promos. I don't think that her and Benedict, I don't think her and Luke Thompson are going to have
no.
the same electric chemistry that Nicola and Luke had, but they definitely had a camaraderie. They had a good
Yes.
relationship. They bounced off of each other pretty well, but there wasn't a lot of, there's not going to be any shipping
There's
here.
not sexual tension. Like I think
No.
the big draw of season 3 was like, well, they weren't they for both the characters and the actors, and it
Mm-hmm.
really just absolutely hyped us up, but in a way that's also good and bad. You know, there were so many people
Oh,
just
yeah.
a little too invested in the actors' lives, personal lives, and I think, I mean,
Just a little
hi,
bit.
I'm the problem. It's me. Um,
I
so
was not a shipper, but I do believe they had a working relationship for a little bit.
like I think that Luke Thompson is a
Not that it
lot
matters,
more.
it's their life.
Um, Luke, 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 Luke Newton is incredibly private. Luke Thompson is somehow even more private. Just putting it out there for any of our listeners, Luke Thompson once again has stated he does not have social media. If anyone
At
is trying to
all.
contact you on social media claiming to be him, it is not. He does not have any social media because he says it's quite interesting because his entire interaction with fans is exclusively in person because he's not online. He doesn't get to see and hear
Yeah.
all the things that goes online unless his co-stars actually tell him directly. So he said, I get an
Yeah.
entirely different experience with Bridgerton to everyone else because he's like,
And Yerin Ha said that she hasn't been involved in a lot of the hype yet because so many people are not recognizing her yet, but they're starting to.
yes, yes. I think especially in Australia, she probably would get recognized a fair bit now, but I'm not entirely sure where she's based. I know she said that she packed up her apartment within like a week and moved to London to
Well,
film.
she's in
And if they're
London
still
because they're
filming, she
still
must still
filming.
be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because she said she was out at a theater seeing a show and a fan
yes.
asked if she was Yerin Ha and she said yes. And she was a little nervous at
It was
first, but they were
um
really kind.
it was a one of Golda's shows, I believe. She was there supporting Golda, and the fan was really complimentary about appreciating the cultural representation on the show, which is lovely. And speaking of representation on the show, one of the tangents that I lost the thread of before is the fact that Jess Brownell has said that they have set up the rules of the ton upstairs in Bridgerton, and the forbidden love trope this season is going to be focusing on the fact that upstairs and downstairs do not mix,
No.
and they are going to be mixing. And so, because of that, we are going to be seeing a lot more exclusive behind the scenes kind of Bridgerton households of downstairs. They said we're going to get a lot more of Footman John, who is a fan favorite of the crowd. So many people will stan Footman John and Eloise ending up together. But
Yep.
I
He was
think
on
with
my
Sophie,
mash.
we're going to get more of Valley. We're going to get more of Mrs. Wilson. And then there was one who I don't know who she is. It wasn't Rayleigh. They said her name was Celia.
I know. I commented in that flying chat, where's Ray?
Yeah. So
Where's the ride or die?
I'm curious as to who Celia is. Is she going to be another main? Is she going to be like the fairy godmother in Penwood Estate?
Yeah.
I'm like, who's Celia?
But we never got the name of the maid that was being like left one house, went to another house, and then went back to that house. So maybe that's her.
Is Varley, are they married? Do they have lives outside of the Bridgerton household? Like, we might get to see a little bit more of their lives, not just the elite lives, because we're going to have to mash those two lives together to understand the forbidden love trope of Benedict and Sophie for the season.
And we also know from this point, we are definitely getting kind of like the balloon scene in season 3. We're getting a kite scene, not in the book.
Yes. I'm very curious because the kite scene was mentioned not once, but twice by Jess Brownell.
And as an emoji, if you had an emoji to describe the season, she said kite. So that's a big deal.
And do you know what? So not only that, but they said the kite scene is the first scene that they film. Mm-hmm. Follow on about 10 minutes into the interview, and Benedict states that the first that he said he has they said, where's your favorite spot to film? And he said, my cottage, because 1, we did majority of the filming there this season, and 2, that is a special place for me because that's the first scenes I ever filmed with Sophie. So the kite scene is actually the first scenes that they filmed. Keep in mind that my cottage doesn't actually have any of the sex scenes, so I think that they wanted them to build that rapport and relationship and then go into that side of it once they've kind of developed that trust with each other. So it makes a lot of sense, like giving the actors time to bond first.
Well, and I don't know if I think with Yerin Ha, like Luke Thompson has had plenty of those scenes, and he's an actor that's done things like that before. So I know, but it's different when it's. I think it falls under the timing of the houses. And I mean, yes, it would build rapport. I think if you get to do a lovey-dovey epilogue scene first, it's kind of like love bombing, right? You're having an instant connection because as an actor, you channel those feelings. What are their motivations in the scene? What are they feeling? Like, what are they trying to convey? Mm-hmm. And this is the final, like, everything's worked out, we're in love scene. So those feelings would imbue into them, and they would carry that for the rest of the filming, I'm sure.
So one of the other very interesting comparisons that was made this season in this interview was Luke Thompson comparing the journey that Benedict is going on to the Odyssey. I don't know anyone who's talked about the Odyssey at all in Bridgerton universe.
No.
We certainly don't have a whole episode.
Oh, and if we're talking about the theming references, I just want to say that the Ladies Bridgerton called it. We had the wrong play, but we had the right idea.
Yes.
Because we said they were going to put some Shakespeare into Benedict's season because Luke Thompson has done so much Shakespeare, and they have made the theme of the Masquerade Ball be A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is actually very perfect for the time frame of the ball and the essence of Benedict and Sophie meeting and how fantastical it is, and how it's like an unusual night, and there's like magic in the air and that crackle in the air, because in A Midsummer Night's Dream, the fairies put a spell on the humans that are in the woods with the pollen of this flower, and they act out of character, like fully like they're lacking inhibition, and it completely goes as a theme. I'm so excited for it.
And it's quite interesting because that is exactly what Jess Brownell talks about. It's about how they have made the Masquerade Ball be very dark and alluring and kind of a little bit sensual without saying it. And she said, we've made it like, and it kind of reminds me of that quote from Lady Whistledown talking about when we feel like we're in the cover of the dark, the things that we do. And that's kind of the theme of this book, because she said the masquerade being so darkly lit and or dimly lit and everything allows people to be a little bit more naughty, and then compared it to Midsummer Night's Dream. So I'm like,
a little loose with the rules. Yeah.
A little loose with the rules. People may have dalliances that they wouldn't normally have. So I was like,
Where's Fife?
I want Pen and Colin. Well, I thought Fife is going to have someone in the closet, of course. Man or woman, who even knows? Because I mean, when you're in masks.
No, like I told you before we started that I think that with Pen as Lady Whistledown talking to the Queen, that gives Colin the ability to still catch Luke and or Benedict and Sophie on the staircase.
Yes.
And then, or go find him, like, and have that conversation where she's able to realize she's with Benedict and not just any Bridgerton, because she thinks she's sure, but she really knows when Colin comes up in the book. But like, in thinking about our wish for the staircase, like, I still would love to have, you know, Pen and Colin sneak off and then duck into a doorway when they come by.
The masks, I think, are going to be extremely telling. So Jess Brownell has said that all of the looks kind of are very specific, and two of the masks that she specifically named, and it goes with the themology that we have been talking about, one of them was swans. The other one was chess pieces, which is exactly how she described Sophie's personality, being a bit of a chess mastermind. And I thought, you've now brought up chess twice. So I think there is
well, to be able to navigate Penwood as a servant, she would have to be very strategic with Araminta and Rosamond, because they often conflict in what they want, and she has to make them both happy. So
yes. And then we've got Benedict, and he said that he is dressed as Romeo, or Jess Brownell said that he was dressed kind of a little bit like Romeo.
They're like Romeo.
And then Golda said, like Zorro, which is basically what everyone on the internet that I've seen. Yeah, most people from what I've seen have been relating him to Zorro. And I was like, yes, I'm glad that we're not the only ones who see it. And I'm like, please don't refer to him as Romeo, because there is nothing romantic about two teenagers killing themselves. Please don't let that be.
I think he said Romeo because when you look at like the Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes, Romeo and Juliet, when they come to that that costume masquerade ball, he just sees her and is immediately entranced by her. And I think that's where Luke Thompson was coming from as a Shakespearean actor. He's thinking about that love at first sight, like Romeo is that person. Like, he was just in love. He was just in love with Rosamond.
Yes.
And Rosamond dumped him. Not in Bridgerton. This is Romeo and Juliet. Romeo was in love with Rosamond.
Isn't it funny that the name?
Yeah.
Rosamond. And I believe that they're going to have Rosamond chasing Benedict this season. I mean, they kind of did a little bit in the book, but I think they've kind of hinted at the fact that it's going to be a little bit, not a love triangle, but I think it's going to be Rosamond pulling the Cressida.
They love their love triangles.
They do. I think it's going to be Rosamond pulling a Cressida and trying to compete for that love interest. Although, obviously, Benedict, I think, will be polite about it, but I don't think that.
But I think that's what he meant by Romeo. I don't think he meant like children falling in love with each other. I think he meant that Benedict loves love. Romeo loves love. He falls in love because he loves love. Are you eating cheese?
It's chocolate.
Oh, it's your candy. Okay. Well, it looks kind of white the way it's. I
have
white a bag
chocolate
of cheese.
On top.
That's what I got myself. That's what I got myself for Valentine's Day. I got myself cheese and chocolate.
This is
and flowers.
One of the most iconic New Zealand chocolate. And it is a jelly tip chocolate, which is white chocolate down below, white chocolate top, milk chocolate below, and it's a jelly-like consistency in the middle. And it's one of our
Which
most
I told
iconic
you,
New
don't
Zealand ice
ever
creams.
send me that. Don't ever send me that.
It's iconic.
That is too much at once for Patty.
Too peculiar for Patty.
Very too peculiar. I wouldn't know where to go with it. My brain would be like, but I will say I love also what Benedict says. It kind of goes with that Romeo thing about loving love, is that Benedict is so completely in a fantasy world. And I think as we talk about all of the Bridgerton siblings and their trauma responses, I think that Benedict is the one that has escaped reality so much by diving into fantasy. And you see him throughout the seasons. He's always walking away from anything that looks like it might be conflict or give off negative vibes or whatever. And he just wants to live in his fantasy world because he doesn't really want to face reality. He doesn't really want to face the loss of his father and things like that. He said that Sophie is stuck in this hard reality. She doesn't see a way out. There's almost no hope there, but Sophie has a way of navigating it that she still carries some hope always. And that for them to finally get together, they have to meet in the middle. He's got to come away from the complete fantasy world, and she's got to understand that she's got to elevate up out of that hard reality. So that we also called something else. We've just said this recently in a podcast episode about, and it was within the last few podcasts, we said it about how Benedict is whatever Benedict he needs to be in the situation he's in. Like, we know there's a different Benedict at home. There's a different Benedict out in society. There's a different Benedict with Colin than there is with Anthony, than there is with their mother. And Luke Thompson even called it. He said Benedict compartmentalizes his life.
Yes. He is Ditto from he's Pokemon. He morphs into whatever he needs to be.
Yeah. And I love that. Like, we had just said that. Confirmed.
Yes. And that was because I was like, oh, I had a thread that I had there, but I've lost it. And you helped pick it up for me. Thank you very much. No, you helped me remember the thread that I was looking for. And it was that Jess Brownell has said that one of the very last scenes that we have of Benedict, we kind of see him looking like something. He knows that there's something missing from his life, that, you know, he's chasing this sudden. Too many holes instead of one, okay? I don't know how else to word that. He's chasing the wrong thing.
Oh my God.
I mean, sometimes you just have to say it how it is.
No, it's so funny that you say that, though, because I literally just described, like, my past. Like, you know how when you're with certain people, they make you feel important, but there are people that, you know, are just using you. And
yeah.
I basically said all I was holes for the pole.
Yeah.
And then you just said the same thing. Basically.
2 minds. Yeah. So Jess Brownell was kind of insinuating that although Benedict seems content with his life the way that it is, that he is kind of coming to the realization that he cannot just keep running from true love, that he needs to find contentment within himself, sort of like how Penelope is now not running away from her responsibility of her mother. It's that when she feels whole in herself, it no longer feels like the burden that it was to do it on her own. When you've got someone to do life with you, things don't feel as harsh or scary, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't see that he was running from true love. I think he was running from anything serious. And I'm not
I think he was running away from ever getting locked down in something that wasn't true love.
Yeah. But I think he wanted fun. He wants fantasy. He doesn't want any of the serious parts of a relationship because that could lead to hurt.
Yeah. One of the very interesting, this is kind of jumping a little bit, but one of the very interesting things that Jess Brownell states is that the Queen will have new hallways to walk down.
I think that's just because of new places.
Well, it was just a very interesting
It
statement.
was a weird way to say it.
I wondered whether it was actually a Brimsley reference, because in one of the scenes that was deleted, it was Brimsley walking down a hallway, passing by Reynolds, and them not acknowledging each other, but kind of looking at each other with like this like nostalgic remembrance of the life that they once had together. And I wonder whether with the king dying, oh yes, please, 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 if the king dies, that means that Reynolds can return to working in the palace with the queen. Please.
Or she ends up going to Q.
She will move into Q for her son to move into the palace, which means she will no longer be filming in the palace, and we will get the Reynolds and Brimsley story that we have all been craving. They will finally get their happy ever after. They'll finally get to be together.
Or even if it's not a happily ever after, we get the why they're split.
It immediately made me think of that scene with Brimsley and Reynolds that was deleted, and I wonder whether they will put it in this season to kind of, and that's that the reference. That fits so well.
If the trope is forbidden love and the side stories play into the real story, and we've said that I think Brimsley is going to influence the queen to allow this union, because that's how the show perpetuates things that's different from the book, because the queen is gone.
Yes.
So I think that Brimsley is going to also open up a little bit.
Yep.
To Charlotte, and going to influence the queen's decision, because in the show the queen is like the be all end all, of things happening, because look at how scared Francesca was to tell her that she was in love with John Sterling over Lord Samadani. So I think Brimsley is going to influence the queen in showing grace to Benedict and Sophie's union. And I think he's going to reveal his own forbidden love to do so.
Well, and I think that he will, because then it will set up for Francesca's season of acceptance.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk Easter eggs. Jess Brownell said that there is a very important Easter egg dropped at the Masquerade Ball, and on the floor of that ball is a constellation. She said she couldn't remember what the constellation was, but that saying it might be a giveaway anyway. So she just said,
did you see it in any of the pictures? Because I didn't get to look at them super closely.
I looked at them really closely and I could not see it.
Said that they painted clouds on the floor, but there's one spot where there's a constellation. Listeners, viewers, that's something we need to look for, is that constellation. We know that. And then, we're trying to figure out what is the significance of Violet's dress.
Yes. Because Jess Brownell said that that Violet's dress choice is very telling for where she's at in life.
I think it is. I think she's a debutante. I think she's openly advertising to the world that she is considering getting married again, because her hair is down. She's looking very young and fresh. That is a lilac-ish blue. You said, periwinkle. Dress.
And periwinkle's very like young and full of love, and
they use that color a lot. And there's a lot. Think about like the way her shawl is. The mamas tend to wear the thicker, embroidered shawls, not the gauzy ones. And she's got a gauzy shawl. She's very feminine, very romantic. And her mask. Oh, I want to do that for arts and crafts. That's a gorgeous
periwinkle
mask.
Represents serenity, calmness, winter, and ice. It also symbolizes blossoming friendship, sentimental memories, and everlasting love. It is an anchoring hue.
So she's in the winter before her spring. She's remembering her history with Edmund before she fully
I think she needs to go through that last.
Yeah.
I think she needs to go through that last mourning period of like, yes, it's fresh love and it's exciting, but it also comes with it that final bout of sadness of letting go.
If the king has passed away, we've got to have 2 stories of mourning somehow.
Yeah. Well, lastly, we'll talk quickly explicit scenes that we know that we're getting from the book that is going to be in the thing. So they've said that we're going to be getting the lake scene, and I'm so excited because that is chef's
And we
kiss.
get Benedict in the rain, because that was very close to looking like a Darcy moment. Woo-hoo!
It was very much a Darcy moment. I think he is riding the Darcy vibes this season. Like, please just give us a little
I would love
a little fist clench.
I would love a Pride and Prejudice version. Luke Thompson is Darcy, because that rain scene, oh my god. Yeah,
please.
And then Colin,
if you're ever going to redo,
and his little puppy self could be Bingley all day.
Yes, I would actually live for that. I approve this message. So we're getting it.
I think that Johnny Bailey would pull off a really smarmy, awkward Mr. Collins.
No,
I think that would be fantastic. He'd be a great Wickham too.
I was gonna say Wickham. He's handsome. He can pull off that arrogance. Although, let's be honest, Fife is gonna be Wickham.
Fife would be Wickham.
Fife would be Wickham.
Johnny Bailey is so talented and can just be a chameleon.
He can do anything. He can do everything. He could pull off bloody. He could pull off Mrs. Bennet. Mrs. Bennet.
He could be Mrs. Bennet. Oh, that's so funny.
Just put him in a wig.
Yet, he could be Anne.
Yes.
Just sitting there in a shroud, all sickly, the daughter of Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Did you happen to see that parents threw their daughter a 30th, I think it was 30th, a birthday party, and it was themed for her best friend? I'm approaching X age and I'm unwedded and I'm a burden to my parents. The parents got that quote and they put it on a cake, on a mug, on all the stuff, and they threw her a birthday party like that.
My mother would have pulled something like that. I would have killed her.
Oh, it was hilarious. But okay, sneak peek. Let's talk sneak peek.
First thing I want to say, Lady Danbury in blue. She's wearing Bridgerton blue.
Yes.
And then we talked about the empty chair, what we think it symbolizes. I mean, we know that it's the chair from later, but in the sneak peek where it's placed, it has its own message. It's not, hey, the queen's going to be sitting here for the masquerade later. I don't think that at all. Yeah. And then and this is what I was getting giddy over earlier, so I'm just going to say this. I love the fact that we see Portia squeak-cheeking Colin. She's pinching both of his cheekers, and he's smiling at her, and she's acting all indulgent and everything. But I was thinking about this, because think about who it is. It's Colin and it's Portia. And yes, I think that they would have a good relationship, because she's super happy that her daughter's in love and it's a Bridgerton and she's aligned with the Bridgertons. But I also think that Colin uses charm to get his way. And I think he's charming her. He thinks he's charming her, and she thinks she's maneuvering him.
Yeah.
So I think that we are still going to get our conflict over the ledgers and the money and who's in control. But I think they're going to be playing this whole, like, I love my son-in-law, my favorite child. And Portia would be the one wearing that t-shirt. My favorite child is my son-in-law.
Yeah. All right. So if we're going in order, the first thing that we basically see of season 4 promo is Araminta, and she is wearing all black, which means that she's probably still in her mourning period.
That was probably the morning.
I think that she's just someone who would wear black year round.
No, and that face though, that's probably after Penwood passed and she finds out that she gets more money if she takes care of Sophie.
Yes. Let me just say, as someone who came out in the time period where Harry Potter, like I was in the same age, of Harry Potter, I absolutely resented the crap out of the fact that they chose Cho Chang.
Cho Chang is not old enough to be Araminta, but she pulls it off.
Katie, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce the last name, so I severely apologize. Leung.
That's what she said. Leung. Liam.
Okay, so Katie Leung. So she is 37 years old. And I'm actually super impressed with how they have aged her using makeup. Because, I mean, to be honest, a lot of people from
and her
East Asia are
mannerisms
very, well, East Asian people are quite timeless, and it is very hard to tell their age sometimes. And although her face is incredibly youthful, they have used her hair and very harsh styling of clothing to age her to look maybe in her early 40s.
Well,
Because,
and I think her
excuse me, but
own
a 37
mannerisms.
year old, she's 37, 4 years older than me. I do not have teenagers. I have a 3-year-old.
I think her stature, the way she's holding and carrying herself too, all play into that. Like,
yes,
she is, for someone that we saw act as a child, because I know her from Harry Potter as well.
Yes.
I can't think of anything I've really seen her in besides that. I am completely impressed with her as an actor, because she pulls off that age. It's not just makeup. Like, to pull off someone who is the mother of 2 people, technically 3, who's been a mother, I mean, she maneuvered the marriage to Penwood to be able to still live in a certain kind of style of living. So think very much Lady Featherington, right? Security. Like, she totally gives off that vibe of.
Well, she's actually been in like maybe a dozen things since Harry Potter. I
figured she has. I just haven't seen them.
The most notable being The Wheel of Time, 1984, and Arcane. I think are probably the biggest. I haven't watched them, but I know of them.
Yep, I'm like, I have not seen one of them.
No, so
sorry, Cho Chang.
I'm sorry, but you're always going to.
You're like, always going to be Cho Chang.
And like, all I can think of is the scene in Harry Potter, in both book and in the series, of Harry kissing her and realizing that the kiss is wet because she's crying. And it's all I'm ever going to think of. And then the next scene that we kind of get in this is we get to see Francesca. She's giving very angel-esque with her white mask, very pure, very innocent. And I wonder whether, like, after John, if she were to go to another masquerade ball, that would change to a more sultry appearance post Michaela.
You mean after he's passed?
Yes, I mean, like, she's still very ethereal, very angel-esque.
And I think that plays into how John sees her, because he has her on a pedestal. He sees her.
Yes.
You know, that's his.
It's like she really does look like Belle Gauge the Ball.
Yeah, she definitely. And I'm trying to remember the characters' names from A Midsummer Night's Dream, because when I heard that and I saw her picture,
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yes. Yes, you will.
All right, let's move on. The next person that we see, and I do actually believe, because I think we see her later on in this outfit. So although we see her with a mask on now, I'm pretty sure that this is Rosamund, and she is wearing the kind of minty green dress with the pink flower appliques. She's got a blue bow in her hair, very blue and pink frills all over that dress. But some of the stems almost remind me of cherry blossoms in her dress.
Helena. The two main female characters are Helena and Hermia. And I'm trying to remember which is which, but I think it's Helena, because that's in the 1999 movie. That was Callista Flockhart, so it's got that vibe for me.
I love this dress, to be honest. I think she looks absolutely stunning, and I love the whole look of her. I think she looks elegant and regal. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that love interest with Benedict plays out this season. Yes. And then, as you said earlier, we have Lady D, and she is wearing her Bridgerton blue best. I love that she's like, I'm an honorary Bridgerton. I get to wear the colors.
And she's wearing that at the Queen's. Like she's at the
Yes.
Queen's. And I think that's part of too. She's revealing, if she hasn't already, she's revealing why the Bridgertons are her favorite. I think that's
Yeah,
part of
I
I
hope they
think
open
that
up
might,
more.
well, and I wonder if she said, hey, I'm in a family way. I need to do something with this child. And now she's going to explain the backstory of how that child came to be to the Queen. Maybe. Because think about it. If the Queen is grieving, Lady Danbury did not grieve her husband, but she certainly grieved someone, right? That would be her grief, is losing her only daughter she wanted to have and losing Lord Ledger.
Well, one of the next scenes straight after showing us Lady Danbury is it goes to Lady Danbury and then it goes to that lone Bridgerton chair. And then the next is it kind of shows us the staircase. And in that staircase, it's got these beautiful draping kind of flowers coming off it. And one of them's white roses. And then the other flowers that
And
are the
white
most
wisteria,
prominent
look like.
are white wisteria, which represent innocence, purity, and new beginnings. Which is telling me King George is going to die. This is new beginnings.
Yep.
And then the next scenes we kind of get in this short clip is we get a group view.
And white
and
roses are also purity and innocence.
Yes.
So
and
lots of purity and innocence going on.
The next scene that we get to see is Benedict and Eloise taking a stroll through Mayfair somewhere. I don't know whose estate this is. I don't.
Well, that's what they use for the park. That's the same place that they used when they were strolling. It's part of like, it's not Hyde Park, but it's where they promenade. Like, kind of like walking from the residential part over to.
I'm really excited to see more Eloise and Benedict scenes because, like, as many, those two together is like a fan favorite of combos. We get really raw. I wonder whether this scene here is sort of, and because if you look behind Benedict and Eloise, we have the two mamas, Lady D, Granny D, and Violet, who spent the entire last season setting up Francesca. And it's like they're now, like, all their attention is on on Eloise instead of Francesca. But I think this is kind of, I wonder whether Benedict will open up about his Lady in Silver, and she may open up about Theo, that scene that they cut from last season, and they kind of are a little bit vulnerable with each other. I don't know whether they'd be that vulnerable.
Well, and I think they
public.
latched together because I think Benedict would have really missed her. And, you know, because he was already feeling that something missing kind of thing. A kind of like, let's get reacquainted or whatever. But Violet is already like, yeah, it's time for you, little girl, because she's wanting to move on and do her thing with Lord Anderson, but I almost feel like she's made a promise to herself that all of the kids that knew Edmund would be settled, would find their own love before she can lay him to rest.
Have you noticed, if you look closely, that Violet and Eloise's outfits are like mother-daughter versions of each other? Like,
yeah, that's and that's what I was saying about Portia's outfit when she squeezes Colin's cheeks. Well, I said that to you beforehand. Her outfit, she is finally aligning with Penelope's colors. Like, you know how in season 2 she aligned with Prudence? Yep. She's aligning with Penelope's colors. So I think that is, you know, that is a kind of homage to
a symbolism that the moms are finally
she's having a good relationship with her daughter.
Yeah. And the the screenshot that I took of Luke Thompson, just absolutely full mouth. You could tell it's like a full belly laugh moment. Him and Eloise just like cackling together. His laugh just is so full of joy. I absolutely love it. You can tell that they're having a blast filming.
Yeah, when he laughs and when Luke Newton laughed, when and I mean, really, Johnny Bailey too. There's something about how they laugh that just draws you in and you want to laugh with them because it is pure joy. And I just love when they show scenes like that in the sneak peeks and stuff, because I don't think that is a filmed moment. I think that is a real moment between Luke Thompson and Claudia Jesse, not Benedict Bridgerton and Eloise Bridgerton. And I just love when the Bridgerton siblings get to be in a room together, as we always say. They truly, genuinely gel. They have such a great chemistry together, and I'm all for it.
Would you like to talk about some other Bridgertons in a room alone together?
Yes.
So one of our next scenes that we get is Colin, because we've already talked about Portia.
Yeah.
Move over, Portia. Don't
I love that though. Colin's the baby in any house he's in.
Well, he's about to make a baby by the looks of what's going on in the scene. We have Penelope and Colin standing in front of a mirror. And let me just say, Penelope is wearing black.
I think that is her pirate.
Isn't the entire ton supposed to wear black after the king is dead? The entire ton is supposed to go into mourning.
And Colin technically could still wear that waistcoat because he would have a jacket over it.
Yes.
But that doesn't explain Portia being in that blue.
Why else?
Unless Penelope was going to the palace.
And she has to wear. There's no other reason. We've never ever seen
pirate outfit is black.
I know, but what I'm saying is we've never seen. That's not the pirate outfit. We've never seen anyone wearing black if they weren't in mourning. There are
also, if season 5, now this is a lot of episode 1, but if season 5 is going to be Eloise, and Eloise has to start writing letters, that black would be for family.
No, because they're setting this up as a sex scene. I don't think they would have us thinking about mourning.
Are they? Because Portia's walking out of the room.
They're standing in front of a mirror.
They have him walking up behind her as she's looking in the mirror. I don't necessarily know if it's sexual, but they gave us a mirror. I think that was that point.
No, her dress isn't done up. Her dress is undone in the back.
But here's what I want to point out. Like, this is the thing. They have created the new Lord Featherington, which means they are the Lord and Lady sort of the house, right?
Yes.
Where do the Mondricks sleep in the home as the parents of the new Lord? They get the Mr. and Mrs. rooms, right? Yes. Colin and Penn want to be in the same room together, and Portia is not leaving that house. But I still think Portia would have moved, or they could have gone into Lord Featherington's chambers because their chambers were separate. But
I don't know whether that they were wealthy enough to have separate chambers.
They had separate chambers.
Okay.
They showed Lord Featherington in his room, and she came up and shut the door in his face one time. They have separate chambers. So there is a separate chambers for the Lord of the house. They are not using them. Penelope,
but they're usually joined.
Yeah, Penelope redecorated her childhood bedroom. That is the same set. It's the same room. There is a window seat where she sat in season 3. You can see the thin line of the cushion.
Lady, they are in their lover's era. They are not going to be in an adjoining room to their mother and having to stifle those sounds.
No. She redecorated her childhood bedroom to look very much like their first home together. And they brought the sunflower rug that they
I love it.
First consummated their love on top. Well, not on top of, on the settee. Yes. But we know that more than one time happened. So I'm saying the rug got action. The whole "do I look a mess" isn't from a one-time deal.
And I love that the wallpaper and the things on it is Eros and Psyche coded, because they're bringing in all the elements of their season into this room.
Yeah, the mirrors there, the yellow bedspread. It's a more grown-up version of a yellow bedspread, but it's still the yellow bedspread. And all of her books all of her books and everything are gone, which tells me they also
Mm,
have claimed the Lord Featherington office and
yeah.
study, and that became where her books are, because she
Hmm.
would want to be with Colin when he's doing that stuff. So she's probably sitting on a sofa in there reading while he's, doing the books, or they're doing the books together, because I think they're
Hmm.
the ultimate power couple. But her writing desk is still in the bedroom.
Um, moving on from that scene, if we're done with it, we have
Mm-hmm.
someone else wearing something quite out of character for them, and it is the queen, and she is wearing a very dusty pink, very romantic looking, very beautifully embellished dusty pink and gold outfit in this, and Brimsley is his sash is matching her exactly.
Yeah, she wore some pinks. Um, there it was pink and green at the end of season 3, but this
Everything
is
has
very, very magenta-ish pink, like very,
yes.
yeah. And I think
And
it's more like, I think that's also a signal that the king has died, because she wore specific clothing to fit with the royal aesthetic. And if we
mhm.
remember Charlotte from the beginning of, Charlotte and Just George, she did tend to wear, as she was coming into her power, like she wore more romantic colors. She had a lot more color in her palette.
We've already discussed Violet, I think, pretty in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Her mask, love it so, so much. It is absolutely stunning. Like I think
It's
that mask
gorgeous.
like is just as breathtaking as and it kind of almost gives me the same kind of vibes as Queen Charlotte's cherry blossom,
Wait,
because it's got those the pearls laced through the part that goes up here, which
well, and
I
it's
love.
a wire mesh. It's like, it's kind of a
Yeah.
wire thing, and there was a chandelier that they showed that had that same, like, in the center, it had that same, like, kind of wired caging thing. And then Queen Charlotte's wig, when she's talking to Penelope, also is like
Oh.
this constructed, like, wire kind of casing around her hair, or her hair's woven through it.
And then the
So there's
scene.
almost this feeling of like it being a cage, like they're all trapped in something, like, you know I don't know, just something, I'm like, it just seems to be that whole, like, they're like with Violet, it would be like there's a part of her that she can't release.
Mm,
She wants to, but she can't. And the queen, same thing with King George, wants to, but she can't. And then, like, the theme of this whole thing is, Sophie wants to reveal, wants to be released from her cage, because she's basically in a cage, right?
well, and usually, like, kind of the things that people are wearing in the backgrounds, and that can sometimes give us a bit of what's going on. And what's interesting is there's a couple people that they focus on in the next few scenes as they go back to the masquerade, scenes from the masquerade
Mm-hmm.
ball, and it kind of almost gives me circusy, like old school circusy vibes. So the first one is a
You know what
lady,
it
and she's
gave
got
me?
what?
Hunger Games.
Yeah, actually, we've got this lady with blonde wig with a blue mask and this beautiful kind of pinkish crown going on with it. They kind of
It
remind me
looks
of
like a
horns a little bit.
basket.
Yeah, and then one of the other we've got a couple people who it kind of focuses on. And at first I thought it might have been Araminta Cowper when I saw that because it was very in that style of the Cowpers. And then there's another lady who it focuses on, and she's got this half demi mask that kind of is a Phantom of the Opera-esque, and then it's got like this beautiful hand painted on bouquet on it. That one gets focused on a wee bit as well. And then it's got this
Mm-hmm.
guy who kind of looks like a jester,
Yeah,
and he gets,
it's like a
but he doesn't
court
look
jester.
like anyone I recognize.
Mm-mm. He kind of had a Wilding vibe, but I don't think it's Wilding.
It's not Wilding. His
Yeah,
jawline's completely wrong for Wilding.
right.
We then get our lovely Sophie back. It is a spectacular night. Um, I love that
With
we
her
kind of get
tan
it.
lines.
With her tan
from
lines,
Australia.
the first thing I noticed was I was like, oh yeah, true blue Aussie. She's got tan lines, big triangle, what we call triangle tan lines, and it's yeah, us Aussies, we really live by the beach, and there was just unfortunately no covering up that tan line. They hit it well with like the shading of the background and
Mm-hmm.
that, but there's no covering that
And
up.
lighting and being at dark in the dark, but yeah. If
Yeah.
you're looking, you're gonna notice it.
Yes. Okay, so we get some of the I like that we kind of get some like romantic-y, angsty kind of vibes here, but then later on we also get scenes of like Benedict being a little bit cheeky and flirty with her, like, Don't worry, I won't tell my mum, you know.
Yeah, I won't tell my mother.
One of the other things that I noticed at the masquerade ball is one, the queen is wearing almost a heart-shaped cage
Yeah, that's the cage I was talking about.
Over her wig, but it also the way that the heart is formed reminds me of a constellation, which makes me think of how they were talking about the constellation on the ground. The way that it kind of weaves together reminds me of constellation. And secondly, in this picture, we've got her wearing the Bridgerton blue and cream with the red bows on it, but still aligning herself more closely with the Bridgertons. And obviously, aligned along right next to her is our lovely and favorite Penelope, dressed as Pirate Penelope to go with her pirate King Cullen.
And I was just thinking, like, what if she's, really pointing out, because it is a masquerade, that, Benedict is Benedict or whatever. Because remember, I said that
She's
she was
got
very.
little heads and like the skull and bones in her embroidery down here. What else can I see in her?
That pirate costume is fantastic, first of all.
Yeah,
Her hat, and
it's got
they
a
let her
little
be
sword.
blonde, like, because everybody's wearing wigs, so she's blonde. I love it.
Yes, she's got like a little sword on this like little belt that she's got, and it's got like skull and bones on it. It's got like a drinking horn. Um, I love this
I
entire
bet
look on
I
her.
bet they go home and Colin's like, no, don't take that
I
off.
can't tell what that kind of piece is on her hat, on the brim of her hat. It looks kind of Chinese-esque to me, like a Chinese dragon, or it's not a clear enough image for me to kind of figure out. Is it serpentine? Because if it is,
I
then it's
hope when
kind of
they do the first pictures, like with
very
season 3,
Odyssey.
when they did the promo pictures or the little promo
Hmm.
scenes, it was like, the first one was like um Colin looking at Penn, but she was still mad at him and she's looking off. And then there's the one where they're like looking at each other and giggling, but Eloise is mad. Like, if they do promos like that, I want them to do promos of everybody in their masquerade costumes so we get
Um,
a good full on look at it.
who is this in this photo? It doesn't
Is that
look
Posey?
like. Well, that's what I'm thinking, because like, but Rosamond is meant to be so much more beautiful than Posey, but like, and she's
I
in
have the
Bridgerton blue with the blue like weaved through her hair, the crystals like weaved through her hair.
But could that be Posey maybe towards the end?
It could very much be. Uh,
You know what I'm saying, book
yes, I
folks.
do.
If you know, you
Um,
know.
this is probably one of my favorite looks though. The hair and the dress with those sleeves, but the kind of that wave that it
I'm trying to get there.
it is one of the most like the gloves with the blue little appliques embroidered into the gloves that match the dress, the shoulders, the way that the jewelry, whoever is on jewelry this year, props to you, because you absolutely brought it
Yeah.
back from last year where it was a little,
Looking cheap,
um,
yeah.
it was looking cheap. Whereas this year, I think the hair pieces,
Oh, the
the
hair piece
appliques,
is fantastic.
everything is phenomenal, and the makeup I feel like has been toned back down again this year from being super 2024 to being a little bit more natural looking, at
Yeah.
least from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, there's not a lot of uh I,
And I think that's
Out
also
of place
partly,
eyeshadow.
I think it's also partly due to the fact that Korean skincare is very natural based looking. It's not about
Right.
bright colors. It is about it, like it just slightly enhancing natural beauty. Our last kind of look of season 4 promo is Jonathan Bailey waving to us like, "Hi team, I'm here."
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of
I'm
like
back.
the perfect way to kind of end that promo.
Oh, it was chef's kiss. Like, I made it. I'm trying to look at the girl who plays Rosamund and the girl who plays Posey, and
Posey Lee, played by Isabella Way.
I think it's her.
Definitely, that's Posey for sure.
Maybe, and you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's from the kite scene.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Remember what happens at my cottage?
Yes. I remember a lot of what happens at my cottage.
I'm talking about with Posey.
I know. Posey's a naughty girl. With the Reverend.
She's not naughty. She's just finally in her debutante era.
But I digress. All right, we're going to wrap this up because this has actually ended up being a lot longer than what I anticipated. But I really wanted to dig into all aspects of everything that we've just uncovered for season 4 because that was big.
Yes. And thank you for listening to the musings of two mad women. Please post below any theories you have from today's event if you were able to see it. Pictures are all over the place now. Netflix has the sneak peek. So go watch it and then comment below. Tell us your thoughts. And please, like, find us everywhere. Share. And enjoy our Delulu with us.
Yeah, because less than 3 hours of sleep. This girl is Delulu. Yours truly, Tosh the Sick.
And Lady Patty, about to be cruising in a week.